So Diablo 4's beta begins in 4 days for any early access member. This is going to be super exciting. I'll be diving into it, streaming it, and making a ton of videos. But today we're talking about the top 5 critical mistakes that you could be making so that you're not getting the most out of your experience in this beta. It's super important because we only have a little bit of time. It's only going to be active for roughly 3 days, and that also applies to the following week after. And then after that, who knows when we're going to get access to the game again. We could be waiting until the game launch, which is quite some time. That being said, let's dive into our first mistake. If you guys want to check out more Diablo 4 content, be sure to subscribe. First mistake is not choosing the higher difficulty. Now, in my experience playing this higher difficulty, it is honestly not that much more difficult, especially if you're doing the other, staying away rather, from the other mistakes in this video. The higher difficulty ramps up the damage numbers of all the enemies, but it doesn't necessarily give them a higher HP pool, at least a meaningful one, as far as I've seen. Therefore, going for the higher difficulty is going to allow you to get more XP quicker if you're able to survive. Of course, if you're not confident and you haven't played ARPGs before or anything like that, even then, I would still recommend going for the higher difficulty because dying in this game really doesn't have much impact, and I wouldn't be too worried about that. So just go ahead and take advantage of the higher XP rates by going for the higher difficulty. The second mistake is do not mess up or misallocate your stats. Each class has stats that they want to focus on. This is nothing new for a lot of you that play other MMORPGs or RPGs in general. Oftentimes, certain classes, certain builds require certain stats, and without prioritizing those, these builds will not work. So if you're playing a barbarian, focus in on your strength. If you're going to play a rogue, focus in on your dexterity. If you're playing sorcerer, focus in on your intelligence. These classes get specific bonuses for having those stats, and by not having and not focusing on those stats, you're going to get a lot less skill damage and a lot less damage in general out of these classes, which will prevent you from getting more XP and getting you to that max level of 25 in the beta. Mistake number 3 is going too defensive. When I say going too defensive, I mean making sure that you're not necessarily taking up an upgrade in armor or upgrade in weapon because you're losing some sort of defensive stat and you're a little worried about dying. Do not worry about dying. Just go ahead and pick up the highest damage available so that you can pump through as much creatures as possible, experience as much content as possible, and enjoy leveling up as much as possible, especially for those people that may not have a lot of time and need to get to that level 20 so that you can pick up your permanent cosmetic for the D4 live release. This is going to be extremely important so that you guys can actually reach that level if you don't have a ton of time. But even if you're someone like myself who plans on maxing out on every single class available and diving into all the content and making videos about it, I want to be able to experience as much as possible with my time, and so I'm going to go as offensive as possible. Mistake number 4 is skipping the open world. Do not do this. This is a huge one. If you're coming from a game like New World or Guild Wars 2, you may be like, well, obviously I'm not going to skip the open world. These games are honestly designed with the open world in mind, especially with Diablo 4. With all the recent kind of content and footage that's been released of a lot of the new open world events, first off, they look absolutely amazing, so you do not want to miss them out just for that aspect. But the real reason in terms of value is that you're going to get more XP, more gear, and all that great stuff that goes along with everything that we love about ARPGs, which is gear progression and leveling up. So you do not want to miss these open worlds because it's going to be so much better than just running around and killing monsters randomly. You're going to find random chests, random caravans, random things where groups of monsters flood in to attack you. So you are clearing large amounts of monsters, but you oftentimes be with other players, which will increase your experience gain and loot gain. And then also the events themselves are going to give you more opportunities to get more loot. Do not skip open world events. If you're going to take out one area of this game, if you're used to Diablo 3, used to Diablo 2, if you haven't played a ton of MMORPGs, do not skip out on the MMO aspect of it if you want to get the most value out of this game. Number 5 is don't spread your skill points too thin. Okay, This one is a big one, and honestly, it goes into my kind of extra mistake or tip that we're going to go over after this. Do not spread your skill points outside of your main skill. The way this game works, the way the skill tree works, is that you're going to be moving from one skill or a couple skills that you can choose to unlock, and then moving down vertically through the tree and earning separate passives, potentially separate skills. But the problem is that you move down that way, you're going to get mediocre skills. There are other ways to upgrade your skills, which are branch nodes off the normal skill that you're using. Let's say you take rapid fire arrow as one of your skills, and you're going to go ahead and pick up all the bonuses associated with that, potentially getting more crit chance, potentially getting more damage on repeat targets, things like that. Amping up one skill is going to be the crucial key to go ahead and get a working and efficient, and honestly sometimes absolutely broken and stellar builds for the beta, allow you to crush content. This is no different if you were playing Path of Exile, if you're going to play D2R and you want to focus in on one skill, amping that skill up through the roof, and then focusing it purely and annihilating everything with it. That doesn't mean that you don't have to experiment with all the other skills during the beta. It just means focusing on one skill and then get to that max level with that one skill. And then after, you can mess around, change some stats up. And again, this goes into my last and extra mistake, which is not actually paying attention to your weapons and your legendaries and your gear that might be dropping, okay? Because there are oftentimes gear that will give multiplier bonuses to a certain skill or a certain play style. Now, you could just be like, screw this, I don't want to deal with that. I want to play my, I don't know, whirlwind bar build or whatever it is. You know, I want to go with that specific skill. I don't want to do anything else. That's totally fine, but you're going to be weaker for it. That is a fact. If you drop items that boost up a skill, focus in on that skill. If you don't drop items that maybe boost up your skill, potentially consider swapping. Also, making sure that your gear amplifies the skills and build that you're running. Do not just hyper focus in on one playstyle because one particular person mentioned this is a good build, because it could be different for every player. One for gameplay experience and what you like, but also based on what gear you get. Now, one disclaimer before I wrap up the video here. This all is for those people that want to get the most out of their experience and don't take their time too lightly. At the end of the day, if you just want to jump in, kill some monsters, you're going to be fine. But for those of you that want to play it a little bit more hardcore, maybe do some extra stuff, get some extra content in, get some extra experience in, these are some things that you're going to want to keep in mind. Thanks for watching. If you guys want to check out more D4 content, be sure to subscribe on your way out and like this video if you guys liked hearing all about D4, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. And I'll see you all for the next video.